Hello, everyone. How are we doing today? Welcome back to another episode of the Community Solutions Podcast, the only podcast that turns workplace challenges into real world solutions. It is so good to be with you all again this week. I hope you have had an amazing day, an amazing week. We're off to a new month, and I hope that is something for you to celebrate. Today, the topic is once again coming from something that I thought about, something that I experienced, and I wanted to go ahead and share my thoughts and that experience and wisdom with you. So today's topic is too comfortable to care. I was thinking back to having a conversation with my cousin, and we always reminisce about the past and also where we're going, but specifically the past in this instance. And what we were talking about is how we were 17 and so ready to leave home and go away to college, right? We were anxious to get our driver's license. We were anxious to get from underneath our parents' roofs and their rules. And we did just that. We left early. No one had to push us. We made our own decisions to apply to these schools, and we made the appropriate plans to, live on campus, find our arrangements, and all of that with our parents' support. And an instance occurred a few days ago where it made me think back to that, right? Because when you think about your own kids and maybe someone else's even, we see that not everyone's kids are ready to leave. There are so many children out there who are not even anxious about getting a driver's license or getting their car. And now that we have Lyft, it brings into another different variable, right? We really don't need a car. There's more transportation compared to where I was in the suburbs, and we didn't have that. And of course, at that time, there was no Uber or Lyft, right? And so I was thinking back and I was having a conversation with my daughter. Both of my children are in school, and I'm looking at her and I'm realizing that she's comfortable. She's comfortable. And what I was thinking was sometimes we have made ourselves too comfortable to care, or made those people around us too comfortable to care. Can you think about anyone in your realm, in your vicinity, that really don't care because they're comfortable where they are? And this can apply to various circumstances. But right now, in this instance, I just want to talk about our children who are old enough to go away to school, maybe have even graduated, but still at home. When I was growing up, there were rules. You had to clean the house. You had to, keep your room clean, make your bed up, wash the dishes. You had to, take care of where you lived. And in my home, my parents were very strict. There were rules. I couldn't leave after a certain time. And that would just get me so upset because, the club doesn't open till 11 or the party doesn't open, but I had to leave the house before it got dark. I couldn't be at home at 7, 8 o'clock and it's dark and then say, okay, it's time for me to go. My ride is outside. My friend is outside. No, I had to leave before it got dark. And so what does that make you do? That makes you leave before time, right? If you're trying to work the system in order to go to that party, I had to leave before time and to be able to make it to the party. But what happens is now I'm being made to lie, really, right? Not necessarily made, but that is a choice that I made in order to go to the party. And then there's all that idle time in between when I'm now leaving compared to when the event starts. And I know my parents did that out of my own safety and my own good. And it wasn't really because of me. It was because of the people around or the people that we didn't know, right? And it was difficult. It was difficult because it felt like I was being punished for someone else, Even though I hadn't done any wrong, I was being punished for the just in case. As my children are now that age, I start to feel the same way. They are getting ready to leave at 10 o'clock. And then it started to hit me like, this is why my parents made those rules. This is why I understand, because it's already so late for you to be leaving. You should already be where you're at. But of course I did let them leave. And this is what brings me to the thought today, because very often we base our own life decisions and how we raise our children off of how we were taught, whether we are going with the grain or against the grain. Maybe your parents did something that you didn't like and you said, I will never do that to my kids. Or they did something and now you are perpetuating those same actions. And so in my instance, I am kind of doing the opposite. I'm saying, okay, my parents did this, so I'm going to try it this way. Okay, I'm going to give my children this trust, and I will not punish them until that is broken. I'm not going to punish them before. Do you see what I'm saying? And so when I start talking about too comfortable, now you may have people come and clean your home now. So your kids don't have to. You may not make them make up the beds anymore. You may let them leave at later hours. And so what happens is they're comfortable now in that environment. So they are not pressured to move. They are not pressured to grow. They are not pressured to leave the home because they're comfortable. And I had to have this discussion with my daughter because I was saying, I'm making it too easy for you. That's why you're not ready to leave the nest yet. And I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's something that I had to reflect back on. And as I was thinking about it in this instance, I saw how it played out in other instances as well. And if you've listened to my previous episodes and you hear my voice, you understand that all I talk about is turning workplace challenges into real world solutions, being able to apply what we can do in corporate America or in our workplaces, right? Which is getting together regardless of your race, your gender, nationality, income, all this stuff. We're able to go into work and work together for the same mission to accomplish the same goals, right? And so if we can do that within the workplace, we can do it outside of. There shouldn't be that much of a difference. So what I do is I help businesses and organizations improve employee engagement and retention by building the bridge between leadership and their teams, right? In order to improve that communication, that collaboration, and that overall company culture. But what I see is, and what I realize is that, especially with the climate that's going on, that many of us have gotten too comfortable to care. Just like how I say my child may be too comfortable to care. What is it that you are too comfortable to care about? What is it? If you're in the workplace, are you just used to just coming in and doing your job and avoiding certain people because now that's your comfortable zone? You really don't care about anything else. Maybe it's your political affiliation. And whoever's listening, I don't care about if you're Republican. I don't care about if you're Democrat. I don't care about if you don't care at all, if you're independent, because everybody's, pissing me off right now. Honestly, I'm not happy with anyone. And so this podcast is always focused on solutions with people in mind, regardless of politics and political affiliation. and your income status. And so I still want to touch on the principles of it, though. Many of us have become too comfortable to care. Some of you didn't vote at all because there's certain different thoughts. Maybe it didn't work last time, or you're tired of how it's turning out. Maybe you say your vote doesn't count. And listen, I want you to just listen to the principle. It's not about who's in office or who's not in office or who should be there or any of that. I want you to listen to the principles of it. And this is the problem now, is because we don't get anywhere because we're afraid to have real conversations. It's time to have real conversations. Take your feelings out of it, take your ego out of it, take all the titles and the acronyms and the initials out of it. Let's talk about substance. Let's get to the root of the challenge. You got to get to the root. In order to get to the root, you have to speak the truth. And what I'm saying is that there's people that didn't vote because they are comfortable where they are. Not happy where they are, but they are saying, I'm going to make my way anyway. I'm going to make my decisions anyway. I can't allow anyone else to dictate, how I move. I can't depend on anyone else. Some people are on the religious aspect of it, as in God will provide. And there's nothing wrong with that either, because I know who the real source is and I know who allows for the resources. Okay? Then there's people out there who voted. Okay? And you're voting with your interest. But my question to you is, what is your top priority when you're voting for your interest? If you are voting for power, some people just want power. So if you notice, if you call someone who has a title like a doctor, but you don't call them doctor, you just say Tanya or Susie Lou, and you don't say Dr. Susie Lou. They may become very offended because they worked very hard for this title and they went to this school and that school. You're getting too caught up in titles. Let's get to the substance of it. And it can be pastors or preachers. If I can't see it in you, don't tell me about your title. I should be able to feel that. I should be able to see that through your actions. But sometimes we are more concerned with power, having that control over others or over sources, resources, that nothing else matters. And that is how you vote. That is how you live. That is how you prioritize. If this person over here can't get you what you want as far as power or status, then you treat them any kind of way. Because your priority is power. And the next thing is, what's the next thing? I'm trying to think. Power, profits. Many people have voted based off of who can make sure I have the most money. Who can ensure my finances? Who can make sure that the stock market stays up, my stock stays up? Where you are putting profits over everything. And regardless of everything else that you hear a president is going to do, as long as that top priority that impacts you is profits and keeping that, then that is where you're going. I'm just having a real conversation here. So you're fine with that president. You're fine with that elected officer. You're fine with that decision. You're fine with, even if it's in the workplace, You're fine with choosing that CEO because they are concerned with profits. But what happens is when you put profits and power over people, you have no moral compass. There's no way to have a moral compass because your decisions are always about profit and power. There are many things you will do in order to keep that status. And that is where we are today. That is where we are today. And again, I'm talking about principles. I don't care how you voted. I'm talking about real life situations, real life experiences. I'm talking about thoughts. I'm talking about decision making. I'm talking about critical analysis. I'm talking about cause and effect. And these are conversations that if you tune them out, I'm not shocked because that means that you're one or the other. You're talking about power or your priority is profit. And so the kicker is that when you are comfortable, when you don't have to worry about sickness and going to the doctor and having a needed procedure denied, there's people out here who have had surgeries, who need rehab, and I'm speaking from experience, who need rehab or transportation because now they can't drive. And they have worked for years and years and years and have paid for and paid into Social Security and have paid into Medicare and all of that, right? And they go and have a procedure done, but the rehab, the recovery part of it isn't covered. So how are they supposed to get well? When we give companies that much control over and decision making based off of what they think someone needs, right? It's hard. It's hard to comprehend. And this is about profit. This is about profit because if it was about people, then you'd be looking at it totally different. But here's the thing. It seems like, and this is just, and I pretty much stay away from the news. I try to stay a little updated, but I can't stay too far in it because it brings me down, right? It brings me down, but I'm also not oblivious to it. But what I see is power and profit. The people, the ones who are in need, are the ones that get left behind. They are at the bottom of the totem pole. And why do I think that is? Is because the people with the power and the money are too comfortable to care. It doesn't impact them. These small things that the people that have less than are concerned about, the people at the top, they can't even relate to that. They can't even relate. They are focused on their money. They are focused on their investments. They are focused on making sure that the money that they have inherited or invested stays, in the family, is protected through generations. I have no problem with that. That's where everyone's trying to get, right? They want their future generations to not have to struggle the way that they did, or put in a better position. Every generation should be leaving something so that the following generation can live even better, right? Can live better. But if that is your priority, if you care nothing about the people and only your family, you're too comfortable. You're too comfortable. But recently, within a few days, the last few days, the stock market has dropped. And I don't know how many points, it was like 600 points or something like that I heard. And that's when people starts getting upset. That's when people are unhappy with the decisions that are being made. At that point is when I see more frustration from the people that have, because their money has been impacted. As long as these other decisions that impacted everyone else were made, they were okay. You know why? Because they were too comfortable to care. But what happens is there's a ripple effect. Because when you start, intimidating the farmers, and now they can't, they're scared to farm, they're scared to do construction, they're scared. Now your projects are being delayed. That messes up your financing. That messes up your repairs and your progress on the projects that you're making to make sure that your finances are in order. And what I am saying today is that we have to care about the people. We have to put people first, because once you put people first, everything else will fall in line. Once you put people first, everything else will stand in line. And I understand getting rid of waste. We should be doing that in our own household. Okay, what can we unsubscribe from? Do we need to stop eating out? Where's our money going? How much are we saving? What are we spending in interest rates? How often are we getting our nails and our hair and our massages and everything? I can't wait to schedule I haven't had one all year. But just like how we manage our households and should be managing and paying attention to each line item that we have, we should be doing that in the government. I don't mind that. We should be doing that. Matter of fact, those are our tax dollars. Yes, we want to know where they're going. Does that mean cut everything off at once without truly knowing the significance of those responsibilities? Absolutely not. But our government is acting just like corporations. Corporations will, and mind you, excuse me, y'all, because I just had a medical procedure, and I am medicated right now, so I won't go on too long. But just like some of these corporations, they will make decisions and then think about it later, because they're worried about the now. They're worried about the now. I have made several previous podcast episodes talking about people being laid off and those laid on. And what does laid on mean? Laid on refers to the people who were not laid off, but now they're laid on because all the work is getting laid on them. So if you're enjoying this podcast, make sure you tune in to the laid off and the laid on episodes, if you just scroll back a few episodes. But what I'm also concerned about is so many of these corporations are laying off so many people right now. Do you really think that all of them have been financially impacted or see financial impact? I'm thinking, and I'd have to go in and do more research, but I'm thinking that some of these companies are laying off simply because their competitors are laying off. And they want to have a bigger profit margin. They will figure out how to, fill in the gap after. Businesses will let you go and then realize that they need to hire 3 more people just to replace that most productive position that they just fired. Believe me, I know. We are getting too comfortable to care. You're going on day after day because you have your own focus. And you're not thinking about the others that are around you. The reason why I created this podcast is because I feel that most solutions are simply one-sided opportunities. And we see this today. We see this every day. That it benefits more one person and sometimes at the detriment of someone else. They're not mutually beneficial. And I also created this podcast because when I was in tune with the news, and I was just thinking like, why are they not talking about this? Why don't they refer back to this decision that was made over here? Don't they realize that this is because of this? And so sometimes I feel like these titles that I was mentioning before is useless because you've gotten so caught up in words and titles and descriptions and adjectives that you become unrelatable to the common people. And that's why you have to be slow to judge. You have to be slow to name things. There's certain terms like, what kind of term is it? There's certain terms like, I can't think right now. Oh, I wish I had it. I wish I had it right now, but I can't think of it. But there's certain terms when you think of it, people think of it different ways. And so we can't get to a solution because you're not describing it, you're naming it. And that name is a trigger. I wish I could think of one right now. I can't think of one right now. But they become triggers, and then everyone has a different understanding of it, a different meaning of it. I'll have to come back. Maybe there'll be a part 2. I'm not sure yet. But I just wanted you all to know that we're becoming too comfortable. We are used to now going to the grocery store thinking that everything's going to be there when we need it. Are we gardening? Are we teaching our children to garden? Like, what is it that you're doing to build up your own household and your community? It's not just about you. It's not just about your bank account. It's not just about your name, your power. It's not about that. And if it is, you need to look in the mirror. It's very sad that now more people are irate because the stock market is down when there were already people who were impacted way before now. But you don't care until it comes to your door. And that's where empathy comes in at. The people that are prioritizing power and profits are not empathetical. They don't think about other people. And I'm not saying it's not okay to have money. I'm not saying that. That's what everybody should be trying to accomplish. When you are doing great things, you should be compensated for it. And I also believe that you should be putting some of that back to empower others. Doing something good for it, not to just be stored up. I'm not trying to get in your business, but I'm just saying that's what empathy is. Matter of fact, let me give this credit. I believe it was Torrey Roberts who said, there's a difference between empathy and compassion. He said empathy is being able to step in somebody else's shoes and understand their perspective. Compassion is when you take action. How many of you are out there who are compassionate, actually feel for someone else and doing something about it? The compassion is what we are missing, as well as empathy. We're missing it. We are missing the mark. We are missing the mark. And now, because decisions are being made, and now other countries are getting involved, and now we see how we all can be impacted. Well, we could have seen this from the very beginning, right? If we were thinking about others and not just ourselves. What are you prioritizing? That's what I want you to think about. What are you prioritizing? Where are you too comfortable to care? And this goes for everybody across the board. Where are you too comfortable to care? It could be the people who are on food stamps. Yes, there are people taking advantage of the situation. Not everyone is. But maybe they have gotten too comfortable to care. They have been too comfortable just relying on a check. And I mean, there have been some people who have tried because they needed it at that time and couldn't even qualify for it. And then there are other people who needed that aid and qualified for it and received it, but did not want to continue it because there's no way for you to grow from it. Because as soon as you make a little, maybe one check is higher than the rest, right? Now those benefits are taken away. But when it's taken away for a longer period than what your overage, what your income was. So now you're back in the same boat. And so some people are like, no, forget it. Let me struggle and then let me, increase my income. But to just stay on it, again, we have to look at ourselves and see, what are we too comfortable in? What are we being wasteful of? What could we be doing better? How could we be helping ourselves, helping those around us? And so community solutions is about us all coming together and creating solutions. If we use my perspective and a little bit of your perspective and a little bit of their perspective, that combination of different thoughts and different ideas based off of our own lived and unlived experiences, we can create the best solution. And it will be at the people first approach. When you put the people as priority, everything else falls in line. You will be more profitable. There will be more power collectively. You can make better and bigger decisions. Where are you too comfortable? I think we are all guilty of it. And again, it's not just about politics. It's about in our home life. It's about us in our own community. It's about in the workplace. It's about in these schools. There are teachers in these colleges, and I can bring my children in to testify about this, but there are teachers in the school districts, in these colleges, who know they're on tenure and who could care less about the impact of the children, of what they're learning. They don't want them asking questions. They don't want them, contacting them and asking them for help. They don't want them raising their hands. They will insult them if they like. Some people are too comfortable because they are just in routine and want to get that check. They are too comfortable to care because you know what? They feel like there are no repercussions to them. And when you really believe that there are no repercussions for you, you will make any kind of decision if you don't have a moral compass. And so that's why we have to get this in line. And so when I go out to these businesses and organizations, I'm speaking about emotional intelligence. I'm speaking about being mindful. I'm speaking about, using all of your senses, not just listening to reply back, but listening to hear, listen to get to the truth. And not just with your ears, but with your intuition. What are you too comfortable in? Some people are saying protest. Some people, oh no, this is my store. Some people are saying, but what are you doing? What are you doing? How are you voicing your opinion? How are you being the solution? Not everybody is going to protest. Not everyone is going to raise their signs. I mean, it's pitiful. It's pitiful. It's pitiful. What are you doing? What do your children see you doing? How do you justify your actions to them? It should not be about power, profits, and people. It should be about people first. Everything else will follow. I would love to hear your insights. I would love to hear your perspectives. I would love to hear your solutions. I would love to hear what areas that you feel too comfortable to care in. And it's about self-reflection. We have to look back and look at ourselves and say, what are we too comfortable in doing? Have you just tuned out because you don't want to be bothered? Okay, but what are you missing? What is it that's going to impact you? What can you provide input on to help? Let's not just turn a blind eye to any of it. I hope you have enjoyed this. I hope it's something that makes you reflect back on and just think about, what have I become too comfortable with? In the workplace, in the community, at home, within. It could be your health. You know you need to lose weight, but you have become too comfortable about waking up at 7:30 to be at work for 8. And you have been too comfortable. You don't want to have to wake up at 5 or 6 to go to the gym. You become too comfortable to make breakfast. So now you're spending all your money eating out. We become too comfortable. And I'm guilty of it too. I need to be starting my fast. I'm behind on starting my fast. Again, because I did have a medical procedure that could be that could be seen as an excuse, right? But I went to an elementary school the other day. I was speaking to a principal, and before I actually got to speak to her, we went into this classroom where there were about 7 or 8 children in there that they were separated from everybody else because they were Muslim and they were practicing Ramadan. And these children were young. This school is kindergarten through 4th grade. So they may have been in 3rd or 4th grade, but they were so dedicated to their religion. They talked about how they had to wash their hands 3 times. And I'm talking about like 7 or 8 years old. They had to wash their face 3 times. They had to wash their nose. They had to wash their mouth. They had to, wash their feet, one foot first, then the other. I mean, after I heard that, I'm like, wow. And they enjoyed talking about it. They enjoyed sharing that information. They believed it. And again, My conversations are not about religion, it's about principle. I'm speaking about principle. I'm comparing that to me, who's way past third and fourth grade, right? And here I am making excuses about my fast. Too comfortable to care. Check yourself. Check yourself before you start checking others. Where is it that you need to improve? Stop always looking out and look within. Stop always judging what others are doing and look within. What could you be doing better? I am your host, Kim the SME. As always, I am only speaking from my experiences. I hope you have enjoyed this message. I hope that you share this with 2 people. Share this message with 2 people. And also tune in to some of my previous episodes. They're all about solutions. They're all about betterment. They're all about people. They're all about understanding that what we resolve in the workplace can permeate outside by resolving and identifying those challenges in the workplace. We can use that, right? Let me just say this. The energy that we spend, and some of us who can understand the unhappiness, the dissatisfaction that we experience in the workplace, it permeates. We bring it home with us. We take it to the grocery store. All of these frustrations we carry with us. And what the purpose of this episode, this podcast, is changing that energy, improving our workplace, improving our culture, so that when we leave, we have a positive mindset. We have a positive attitude. We have positive energy that we are then able to spread outside of those office walls. As we're driving, we're not honking at everybody. We don't have an attitude. We are treating people with respect. We are giving grace and understanding and extending mindfulness to those around us, whether we know them or not. That is what this podcast is about. Follow, subscribe, support. I do have merchandise at the Kim Unity Solutions, SOULUTIONS.com. Kim, Kim, Unity Solutions.com. Buy some merch, support what I'm doing, because I'm here to help us. I want us to help us. Comment. Tell me what you've been too comfortable in after you've, looked back and dissected it. Or tell about what you're doing to where you're not too comfortable. You've gotten out of that comfort zone. You have pushed yourself. You are people first. Or why you think profit first is better. Why you think power is better. I want to hear all perspectives. I thank you for tuning in with me. I hope you have a blessed and wonderful week. I am your host, Kim the SME. As always, I am only speaking from my experiences. Don't be too comfortable to care. Peace out.